Okay, this video is going to cover the beginning basics of modeling polygon meshes. So this means actually changing the shape of the objects that we create. So far we've just moved them, rotated them, and scaled them. So this will be actually changing the geometry. So start off by clicking Shift A to pull up your menu for adding a new mesh or a new polygon model, and let's choose a sphere, UV sphere. And remember that when you create a new object, if you don't click anything, this little temporary window pops up which allows you to change some things. Let's go ahead and do that in this case. Let's make the segments a little less. Let's make them, remember you can left click and drag. Let's make 12 segments and I don't know, let's say eight rings. You can leave, well, let's change the radius too. Let's make it bigger. Why don't we make it 3 meters in this case. All right, and then when you click off of there, it disappears. So good, we've got this new object. Okay, so in order to edit or change the geometry, you need to get out of this what's called object mode, where you've got this orange ring around the whole object. This is object mode, which allows us to do the things we already did, into what's called edit mode. And on the top left of your screen, you have an option to click on this tab that says object mode and switch to edit mode, which you can do, and then you'll see that the look of the object changes. It's an opaque kind of orange color, and then you see all these individual dots. And if you go back up to the top and switch back to object mode, you're back in the original mode. So the keyboard shortcut for this, which you're going to find much easier to use, is simply the tab key on your keyboard. Tab once, you'll be in edit mode, tab again, object mode. You will be going back and forth between edit and object mode quite often. Okay, so in edit mode, tab into edit mode, we're going to talk about what makes up a polygon mesh. And it's made of 3 things. It's made of vertices, and the singular is vertex, which is simply one point. So if you left click on any one of these dots, this is a vertex. Multiple dots are vertices. Okay, that's the first element of a polygon mesh, single point. The second, if you come up here to the top of your screen on the left, you'll see that you've got 3 choices here, 3 little buttons. Vertex mode. The second one is, go ahead and click on it, edge mode. And if you come over and click on your polygon mesh, you can click on one or multiple edges. So there's that, and the edge is simply 2 points connected by a line, right? So now we've got vertex and edge. The third option of any polygon mesh is called face. So if you click on the third button and you come over and click on your object, you will select any given face. Okay, so vertex, edge, face. Now, surprise, surprise, there are keyboard shortcuts to get from vertex to edge to face mode before we start pushing and pulling and moving things around. The number 1 on your actual keyboard, not the keypad now. So 1, when you're in this mode, will select vertex. 1 will select vertex, 2 will select edge, 3 will select face mode. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3 if you are trying to select different things. All right, so now we're in, so remember, tab to go into object mode, tab again to go into edit mode. We're in edit mode, and let's play around a little bit with what we can do. In vertex mode, within edit mode, so hitting the number 1 on your keyboard or making sure this is selected, just click one vertex. So it's highlighted in this kind of subtle way where you'll see it turns white and then you've got these kind of fading orange lines coming off of it. All right, manipulating an object is going to call on all these things you already know how to do. Grabbing, moving, scaling, and rotating. So once you have a vertex selected, just hit the letter G on your keyboard, which is a grab tool. And if you just move your mouse, you start to move the vertex. Okay, you move it freely. If you, again, you already know this, X, you will move it in the X-axis. Y, you'll move it in the Y-axis. Z in the Z-axis. Okay, so just experiment a bit, taking a few vertices to play with, and you can grab them and move them, and very quickly you'll see that you can really change the look of an object by pushing and pulling around vertices. This is essentially the beginnings of 3D modeling and creating unique geometry. Pretty straightforward so far. All right, so the next thing that you'd want to do is see what happens with the other kinds of transformations. So a vertex is a little bit tricky because it's one point. So if you try to rotate a vertex, well, you're not going to see anything because you're trying to rotate one singular point on a model that doesn't do anything. So rotate on a vertice doesn't do much on a vertex. Scale also doesn't do anything because, again, you can't scale a single point. Rotating and scale will come in handy with edge mode and face mode, as we're going to see next. So let's do that. Let's go into hitting the number 2 on your actual keyboard, not the number pad. You're going to select edge mode. Select an edge. And again, you can try grabbing it. But let's play around with the other two. Hit R for rotate, and now you'll start to see, okay, how this works. All right, I'm rotating this edge in this axis. I can rotate it this way. I can rotate it along, any of the axes, and it will alter the 2 points connecting it. Okay, that's edge rotation. Edge scale also works. So scaling the edge, making it longer or shorter, will change the geometry. So play around on your own some by actually selecting more than one. So remember, you can shift select, hold down shift and select, 3, 4 edges, and just play. Just play by scaling them. Oh, that's what happens. Or rotating them and grabbing them and moving them along different axes. Remember, you have to left click to set your transformation in place. And we've only scratched the surface with these two manipulations. Okay, you know where we're going. We're going to move into face mode and do the same thing. So much of this is the skill set is built on something you already know, so it's quite intuitive. So face mode, select a face with the left click, grab the face. Now this is going to get interesting because we're going to learn a next skill pretty soon, which changes, which looks very different when you grab a face. You actually add geometry, and that's called extruding. So we'll do that later. But grabbing a face and moving it will bring everything with it that's attached, right? Rotating the face and scaling the face. Okay, so just a point of clarification here, you can see that some of these definitions, vertices, edges, and faces, they're obviously all connected. So a face is simply an area of connected edges. So in this case, it's 4 edges. If I had triangular shaped geometry, it would be 3 edges make a face. But a face is simply a connection of a complete connection of edges, right? It's a surface area basically. So and obviously that's made up of, the edges are made up of connected points, vertices, so all related. I think that's covers the basics of, make sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay, I think that's good for this section. We're going to move on to some subjects that have to do with the 3D cursor, which is this thing here, and getting into some more detailed manipulation.